I think the best thing, if you ask me, the best feeling is if you have developed a product and you find someone randomly using it. You're like, oh, I have built that product. I mean, this happened with me at Amazon, where I think we built a seller chatbot, and I was like randomly going in Sadar Bazaar, and then I saw somebody actually using the product that I have built on the Seller Central. I think that was the most happiest moment for me, to be honest. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's the impact you bring in the lives of the normal people.
It is always a good idea to use AI as a sparring partner. Even if there's a critical thinking piece that you want to give to AI, I think of answer first. I come up with my solution first, and then I put the same problem to AI. Because then what happens is that it gives me a baseline to judge the output as well. And it gives me a lot of room to question it, because I have put my thinking in already. There are some women who reach the top, and then there are some men who reach the top. But for women, it is like a hurdle race. For men, it is a sprint. So we came up with a very unique sort of a communication line that men are not equal to women. Women are more than equal.
AI drafting your first pass PRD, swipe right or swipe left?
Swipe right. But do a check.
No, I do my first draft and I then give to AI. So left swipe.
One ritual.
You're so different, man.
I know.
Our answers are like poles opposite. We are choosing everything differently. Interesting. I am also curious. Let's see. Please note down the score. How we are voting. How different we are.
Definitely. Myth or reality? PMs need to code to be great.
Reality. I mean, I'm biased.
Only former coders think this is a reality.
Well.
Hi guys, welcome to the Inference show. Today we're joined by Tanya Kapoor, a product manager at InfoEdge and a mentor of change with the Atal Innovation Mission. She blends user research, rapid MVPs, and growth experiments to move adoption and engagement, and has co-founded Vpreneurs to build and test ideas fast. Her path across partnerships, content, and product gives her a practical view of how insight turns into features users return to. We're also joined by Tannishk Sharma, a product leader who builds at scale across e-commerce and fintech. He has led AI-driven platforms and core workflows at Amazon and Kotak, with earlier stints at Paytm, Urban Company, and Udaan. With formal training in AI and product management, his work spans seller platforms, reconciliation with FX systems, chatbots, and mobile growth, always with an eye on user experience and measurable impact. Welcome to the podcast, guys. So, Tanya, you built at InfoEdge and your previous project. When you think about both the roles, what connects how you approach them?
So when it comes to both my experience at InfoEdge and my previous startup, I think in both those roles, I was essentially connecting people to right opportunities, right? So in my previous startup, I was trying to build a marketplace of digital service providers. So I'm helping small business owners connect with the right service providers for them. In Naukri, I'm helping people find the right job. So essentially, it is connecting people with the right opportunities, and my role was essentially to build the smallest bridge between where people are and where they want to go. So that is what connects both the experiences.
Talking about user experiences, so user interviews to quick MVPs and growth lifts, was there a moment where you felt things really started to click?
So when it comes to anything, whether it is a product feature, whether it is a startup idea, or even if it's a marketing campaign. So I started my career in marketing as a brand manager. I think one thing that connects every experience is that how strong the user insight is when you are building something, right? Whether you're building a feature, whether you're building a marketing campaign. The stronger the user insight, the stronger your feature or your marketing campaign will be. So I'll give you an example. So essentially, when I was working in that marketing role and I was working on the Women's Day campaign, we were trying to figure out some idea which is unique, because Women's Day has been done to death by every brand, right? So we are figuring out what is that unique thing that we can do. And that is something my first manager taught me, that figure out the insight. That is how a unique campaign will happen. And I started talking to a lot of women across levels, right? Some early professionals, some late professionals. And what I realized was that there are some women who reach the top, and then there are some men who reach the top. But for women, it is like a hurdle race. For men, it is a sprint, right? So the end goal is the same, the path is very different. So we came up with a very unique sort of a communication line that men are not equal to women are more than equal. And that is what the campaign line became, because we said that both the sides are reaching the same destination, but the path is so different. And we depicted that campaign via story of twins, right? As to how everything, they're born in the same house and their journeys are so different just because of the gender. So I remember that campaign snowballed organically. It was a 2-minute animated video in an age of short form content.
Yeah.
But the insight was strong. People were able to relate to it. So that is the kind of work or the insight that can lead to strong work. And same happens with product also.
Yeah.
Any unique insight that you come up with is what is going to lead to a strong feature or a strong product. So that's the main connector, I feel.
I think that's a great example of how we also see, people having different sort of experiences in such areas. And I think, user insight is one such area which is the most significant one, whether it's marketing or product. Yeah. Tanishk, so you worked on an AI-led platforms across companies like Amazon and Kotak. When you look back, what connects the work that you're proud of the most?
So I think for me, the most important thing, if you look at the work, is the impact that it brings to the people's life, right? If you feel in hindsight, if we were to look at, hey, my work at Amazon, both at Kotak, even at Paytm, it's actually impacting the lives of millions of people.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the best thing, if you ask me, the best feeling is if you have developed a product and you find someone randomly using it. You're like, oh, I have built that product. I mean, this happened with me at Amazon, where I think we built a seller chatbot, and I was like randomly going in Sadar Bazaar, and then I saw somebody actually using the product that I have built on the Seller Central. I think that was the most happiest moment for me, to be honest. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's the impact you bring in the lives of the normal people.
Yeah, I 100% agree to that. There's no bigger satisfaction than to see people, using what you really built for impact. So from seller workflows to chatbots, where did you think a tough challenge came, and how did that impact you to make your decisions today?
Yeah, makes sense. I think the toughest challenge, at least for me, was to internalize that I also have to look at business while building products, right? Because I always used to have a lot of customer obsession, right? But the problem with that is, hey, we are solving a customer problem, but is customer also willing to pay? That's a big thing. So it's just not about solving a customer problem, but it's also making sure that you're delivering tangible business outcome associated with the value you are giving to the customer, right? So even in product management, because you see in a lot of common literature, it's all talk about, hey, we should have customer obsession, and that's the only thing. But if you personally ask me, it's both customer obsession as well as driving tangible business outcomes. So I think the toughest thing, at least for me, and I have been through my journey, is to actually internalize that within my own mindset and thinking, right? And it took me a lot of leaders to correct me, right? Like I used to go with the exceptional customer impacts, but then they were like, oh, there's no business value, customer won't pay for it. And I mean, I've been knocked down like this took me like at least 10 to 12 times to actually come with that mindset. Oh, I need to think like that also. So, I think it was something that I need to learn.
Yeah. So there would be a question for both of you. What first pulled each of you toward building instead of just, executing or analyzing things?
Yeah, I mean, see, for me, I think I started my career as an engineer. I think I have always been building. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, and now I got into a builder mode and I was not. I think if you personally ask me, I was a lot more hands-on as an engineer than I am as a product manager, because I was on the ground building things. I have a very interesting story to share, but maybe I'll share later. But I think I've seen the impact a tech product can bring in the lives of the people, right? I think that impact actually drove me, to be very honest. And by the way, I'm like the first engineer in my family. Like everybody else is doing something else. So for me, I think it just came out as a calling. What's your answer? I'm so curious to know.
Yeah, so in my case, right, so I have had a very huge variety of experiences. So I did a little bit of journalism, I did marketing, I did social work, I did a sales stint, then I had a proper brand manager stint at Naukri, and then I came into product, and again entrepreneurship also in the middle of it, because I think that allowed me to bring together all my experiences. It is one of those roles where each of those experiences have helped me somehow, where you can view the problem from a different lens. If there were any other role, right, there is some portion of your experience which will always help, but very few roles allow you to bring together everything. One is entrepreneurship and one is product management. I think these are the only two ones in my view so far, right?
Definitely. Tanya, following up on that, moving from Vpreneurs to InfoEdge, what early experience taught you how to prioritize and focus?
That's a very interesting question, because, you know, the way I look at prioritization is basically when either whether you are doing your startup or you are a product manager, there's always a resource crunch, right?
Absolutely.
You cannot build everything, which is why prioritization becomes very important. So what I try to do is something called a barbell strategy, which is essentially that I spend 50% of my time doing things which are absolute essentials, which keep the product running, like fixing bugs or managing routine ops. But rest 50% of the time goes in managing very big bets, right? Things that will really transform the product. And I ignore the comfortable middle. That, you know, some tiny tweak here and there which will move a metric a little bit, but not like a huge impact on user experience or metrics. So when I divide my focus like that, 50% on absolute essentials and 50% on big bets, nothing in the middle, I think that has worked really beautifully for me, both as a product manager and as an entrepreneur, right? Because when you take those big bets, some work and some don't work, but the ones that work really change the trajectory of your company or product. So that is how I personally prioritize.
Tannishk, a question for you. So across Paytm, Urban Company and Udan, what stayed consistent in how you think about getting a product done?
Yeah, oh no, that's a very good question. I think, see, for me, and I mean, I would say the one trait that every product manager has to exhibit is, see, product managers are not getting their hands dirty, right? They are mostly strategizing. They're mostly, you know, talking to consumers. They are doing requirement gathering. Then they are, you know, writing a go-to-market strategies and bunch of things. But I mean, there are teams who sits with you and execute it, right? So I think influence without authority becomes like that one trait that is at least what I want to imbibe, and I would say helps me get shit done. As you said, what stays in with you across your journey that helps you get things done. I think influence without authority, right? And also I think how do you, so influence without authority, say it's an output, say what are the inputs, right? So I think, are you data driven or not, right? Do you bring good consumer insights? You bring good business values to the table or not? So that you are able to align with all the stakeholders who are gonna then go on your behalf and execute it and bring that product, the vision that you had, to reality, right? So I think that for me at least becomes a very critical skill.
That does make a lot of sense, because we always see product managers, you know, doing the other side of the work.
Yeah, and you know what? The funny part is nobody reports to a product manager. Like, you don't have engineers reporting to you, you don't have designers reporting to you, right? But you still have to work across the company with your vision and with the OKR you own to get the result, right? So you need to make sure all the stakeholders are aligned. So I think that becomes a super critical thing to get your execution on track. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And guys, looking back, what habits from those early years still help you today? And what would you do differently now, if there would be some experience you guys would want to share with us?
So in my case, right, what I've seen is that there is a lot of obsession with the user, right? That obviously there should be there. But there is another critical aspect to anything that you are building, is the rest of the stakeholders that are involved, right? So you're building with the people. There are a lot of people involved in the process. So I think it is very important to understand the user, but it is also very important to align everybody else, people whose alignment is not mandatory also. So essentially, whenever we are building a product, we will have to get approvals from our seniors, right?
Yeah.
But there are other people in the team who are helping you build the product, design team, ops team, tech team, whose approval you might not need, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is, in my case, whenever I come up with a feature, even if it is not mandatory for me to get the approval of those people, I still go to those teams and pitch that feature the way I would pitch it to a senior and align them. Because when you make people feel heard, when you make them feel visible, they're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. They go the extra mile. They feel that
Absolutely.
they own it. And that makes a world of difference, right? There are some people who have an opinion that this slows down the decision making,
Yeah.
right? But it really adds value later, because later on the execution becomes very fast. So I would want to double down on it, and I would still want to follow this kind of approach.
That's really interesting. And what would be your experience, Tannishk?
First, I want to say that's a very good point, by the way, Tanya. I
Yeah.
mean, I think a lot of people don't actually imbibe that. I mean, most of the people, as you said, there's a popular term going on the internet. Hey, you are the CEO. And everybody thinks because I'm the CEO, I have power and people have got to do it. So I think that's a very good thing where you said, hey, we should take buy-in from all the folks before starting. I think that's a very good trait. But I think to add to what Tanya said, I think that's a very important learning as well. But I think for me personally, like what I have done and what I've learned over the time, because you asked, hey, what were you doing early on, which you said, which you would do differently now. So when I started my career, I think I did not have a lot of high agency. So I'll tell you what do I mean by that. It's like high agency in terms of ownership, right? So I used to think, hey, as a product manager, maybe I just have to define the requirements and then I'll go and park the requirements with the tech team, and then tech team is gonna execute when they gotta execute. And I mean, it's their prerogative. It's the prerogative of the engineering manager or the engineers or maybe the designers to make that happen, right? I think that was a very wrong mindset that I was in, right? It all obviously took me some time to learn that as well. But I think I've just developed high agency. So what do I mean by high agency is that I've developed the trait of ownership. I don't think like as an owner, I would not go ahead and say, if developer is doing something, then it's not my job. Developer is gonna go get it done. Like if I had to sit with him, understand his pain point and try to unblock him, so I'll do that, right? My success is measured by the impact that I bring to the table, not just like developing the artifacts that are expected out of me, right? Which is, oh, I've developed my go-to-market strategy and I'm done. That doesn't add value, right? I think, especially with the AI coming into picture, right? I think the work is getting easier and easier and easier. I think the people who are gonna, at least this is my hypothesis, I don't know how it is shaping, but my hypothesis is people who gonna succeed in coming in the corporate are the people who gotta take ownership and who gotta have high agency. Their performance is gonna be measured by the impact that they bring to the table, both in terms of a consumer as well as in terms of business. So I think that would be another insight. But obviously, I would also like to add what Tanya said. I think that's a very important trait as well.
Yeah. So again, a question around product. When you join a running product, what is the first thing that you listen for, and how is that different from, let's say, starting something new?
Yeah, no, I think for me, I would say when you join a running product, I think the very first thing is, at least what I've also learned from my experience, is to leave your bias out, right? So what do I mean by that? Like what happens if you see a lot of product managers coming in and they say, hey, at my previous organization, this is how we got to do things. We should do the same thing over here. Things were done here for a reason, right? So I think the very first thing is, people should leave their bias out, right? Second, I think they just should learn. I mean, they should try to learn about the user. They should try to learn about the business. They should try to learn about what the product roadmap is, how it was built, learn about the stakeholders, learn what motivates them, just get the lay of the land, right?
Yeah.
So I think if I was to start in a new product, I think for first 3 months, my whole aim is gotta be deliver very small incremental value, but rather it would be just to understand what the lay of the land for the product is. And to answer your question, if I'm building a new product, I think it's a lot more about just experimentation, right? And especially for like if you build B2C products, even though you have a lot of user insights and business insights, but these are just, okay, what are the problems? I mean, I know this, user has this X problem.
Yeah.
And there is a big business that can be created. But would your solution actually work or not? You don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think it's a lot more about, hey, can I experiment a lot? Can I just, run it with my power users or not? So I think that's how I would look at the...
Also, Tannishk, following up a little on that.
Yeah.
So, across different roles that you've had at Amazon and other big companies, how did constraints shape you, and how would you say they've shaped you in a way that you make product choices now?
No, that's a good question. I think, in Amazon, we also had one leadership principle called frugality. So it was in our DNA to be frugal, right? It means like, even though that, hey, it's a company, it's $1 trillion company, you gotta have a lot of money, but still, like, when it comes to execution, they were always frugal. You would not get the headcount you want. There would always be initiatives that's gonna get an impact in tens of millions and billions of dollars, right? So I think that's what there was there in the company's culture, but how it impacted me and the product thinking, I think I got to know how you can get measurable impact from being scrappy, right?
Yeah.
So I think how, like, okay, even if I get a one dev, right, how would I go ahead and build something amazing that would, have $100 million impact, right?
Yeah.
So I think having that scrappy mindset is super important, and I think that's what being in a constrained environment taught me, especially with startups, right? I mean, mostly from 0 to 1 startup, it's like a startup winter going on, right? So people gotta be scrappy if they genuinely believe in idea, and I think how they want to build with less resources. Yeah, even though I agree, I mean, AI is gonna make it a lot more easier for them to build products now, but I think still being scrappy is what I felt actually taught me. Yeah.
And Tanya, so thinking of a nudge or feature that moved DAU, what did it teach you about timing and context?
It is very important to understand that it is different for every user, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, when you build digital products, you have a lot of room to tweak the user journey slightly for different types of users.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. So for example, there is a very simple rate the app nudge that often comes on apps, right? Now, if it is a first time user, it is a good idea to show that nudge after they have spent some time on the product, right? But if it's a second time user, you can show that nudge a bit quickly because they've
Yeah.
already used the product before.
Yeah.
Now, digital products give you that room to make a slightly different version of the product for everybody who's using it, right? So I worked on the communities product for InfoEdge also. Think of it like Reddit for working professionals, where they can have anonymous work-life discussions. Now the feed that is visible to every user is different. If it is a student, it will be different. If it's a working professional, it will be different. And same is with Instagram, Reddit, or any platform like that. The feed for everyone is different. So digital products give you that room where you can tweak the journey of the user depending on what their use case is. And that is something you can never do with physical products. So if you look at a shampoo bottle, it's the same for everyone, right? But digital products give you that room. And that kind of a personalization is where the real engagement magic can happen, right?
Yeah.
So that is how I look at timing per se.
Got that. And since we are touching upon, digital products and AI coming into the space, what new tool or process has quietly changed how you work this year and why?
No, I think with AI coming into picture, it has gotten a lot more easier to create your artifacts, create your prototypes, also create your launch strategy. All in all, if I were to look at all the jobs to be done as a product manager, the time that it took earlier has came down, at least for me. I think there has been an efficiency gain of at least 25 to 30%, right? Especially with tools such as ChatGPT, with tools such as ChatPRD. Then I also tend to use Perplexity quite a lot, right? I've also been playing with Lovable and Cursor, right? Which helps us to build prototypes, right? So I think that has definitely helped, right? And other than that, I think a big change that I'm seeing now is earlier, the traditional software development lifecycle, how it used to work is I'm gonna go do a user research, then gonna do business research. I'm gonna create a business strategy doc. I'm gonna create a user strategy doc. Then all those used to get approved. I used to create something called as PRFAQ, right, which used to basically have our 3-year roadmap. Then I used to create a product requirement doc. Then that used to go to dev, design, bunch of stakeholders, and they used to start development on that. And then I used to write, my testing plan and launch strategy, right? So it used to be a big process. I think that in AI world has gotten shorter a lot, right? For me now, as soon as I get my user insights and when I've done my business research, I just create like a 2-pager stating what I have learned. But apart from that, I think I do not create a 3-year vision anymore, right?
Yeah.
What I can do is I can just go ahead and create my prototypes, show that to the developers, show that to the user directly, get their feedback. So I think overall, I think with the AI coming into picture, I believe we are moving into the era of super ICs. What do I mean by that is there's like one person who's going to do product, program, marketing, development, design, all on its own. And I think for me, at least to build my prototypes, I am able to do it. So I think the spread has gotten a lot more because the earlier, as I was saying, my jobs to be done used to be 4, now it's 8.
Yeah.
And also the time that it took me to do the same jobs have remained the same. So I think what I would say is, because now instead of 4, I'm able to do 8 in the same time, right? So I'm also able to build my prototypes, I'm able to do my design. So I think AI tools have so to summarize, AI tools have helped me with my productivity. It has also opened new doors for me that I can also perform the roles of, say, a designer, of that of a developer. I can also do a work of a marketeer, right? So I think those superpowers have been unlocked, at least for me, with AI.
Essentially, there's a lot of prototyping, there's a lot of code assisting software that exists now. And I have tried a lot of those here and there. And, for different projects, different one of these can be super helpful depending on what you're working on. However, I think one thing that has remained consistent for me and where AI has helped me consistently is documentation, right? Because if you look at early product teams, right, they do not have airtight documentation. And I know documentation sounds boring, but it is absolutely critical when it comes to product because there is so much context behind everything that is being built. If there is a small nudge or if there is a feature, there is a reasoning that has gone behind it, right? And what used to happen a lot is that when that PM exits, the knowledge transfer doesn't happen that seamlessly. So now I feel with AI tools, the documentation part has become so much easier that now there is no excuse for not having airtight documentation.
Absolutely.
So this is one place where I have used AI consistently, which is documentation, and I think it has really changed the way how teams work as well, because whenever I have a meeting, I will share a note now. Everybody reads it and comes prepared to the meeting. So it's a healthier, more richer discussion.
Yeah.
If somebody has written a document and I don't understand a term, I can have that back and forth with AI itself and understand it. And next day walk up to the meeting with more context, with proper knowledge to ask intelligent questions. So I think this is the part where AI has helped me the most. Sounds very simple, but it has really made a difference in how this actually works.
No, I absolutely agree, Tanya. Documentation is really underrated, but it's absolutely helpful.
Yeah.
I just have a follow-up question on that. We've seen a lot of debates going around what is AI going to replace, right? So as Tanya specifically mentioned, that AI has particularly helped you in documentation and bringing that airtight documentations on table. What would you guys say where AI has already made your work easier or more efficient? And what parts do you think where are these parts where you still rely for, human intelligence?
No, at least for me, I think when it comes to AI, it has definitely helped me documentation, as in maybe I'll convert that into different artifacts what we as a product manager own, right? It had helped me to create my PRFAQ, which is press release frequently asked questions. So it's a working backwards document that we used to prepare in our companies. It has like reduced the turnaround time for that. Like I used to take an average, say 3 weeks. It's now just takes me a week to ship it out, right? I can pay more attention to the things that matter, right? Which is to actually do user research, talk to more business stakeholders, just get market insights rather than just sit and write the document. I think for there, AI has definitely helped me a lot, right? Apart from that, I was saying, for me, at least creating my MVPs have gotten a lot more easier, right? Given I was a developer in my past life as well, I have taken the liberty to create my products on my own, right? At least the first prototype, I at least tend to create it myself, right? But I think you have asked a very interesting question: what not to do with AI, right?
Yeah.
I think the power with AI is the better you get at prompting, it's gonna do everything, right?
Absolutely.
Like, the more detailed your prompt is, the way you tell it to think, it thinks, right?
Yeah.
But I think one thing which I would definitely say people should not do, and which I am also not trying to do, is people are also outsourcing their critical thinking and their first principles problem solving to AI as well, right? They do not want to problem solve anymore. They're just like, okay, fine, I'm going to just tell AI do it, right? I don't think AI is a good problem solver yet. It might be in future, I don't know. But I think, even if it is, I don't want to outsource my problem solving and my thinking ability to AI, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to ask me, I would say intern is like AI is an intern for me, right? I can just outsource my task where I don't have to think, or maybe I have achieved some sort of mastery to it, so that I can focus on higher order thinking, right?
Absolutely.
And I can focus on my problem solving. But I still don't want to outsource my thinking to AI, because I think then it's just making me a lot more dumber. And I think there has been research articles that has been written by MIT as well, where they have observed that people who have been using AI excessively, their cognitive ability has gone down, right? I don't want to do that. Like I feel AI is a tool for me to build my competence. Maybe I'm like at a P70 right now. I want to reach a P95, right?
Yeah.
P as in a 95th percentile in my competence as a product manager. So I think AI is going to help me achieve that, because it actually creates a lot of time for me, right? Because I think, as I'm saying, I've given out on the lower order tasks to AI for performing now. I think that's how I would maybe answer that.
I completely agree with him. I think the minute you start outsourcing your entire thinking to AI is when things start to become a little muddy right away.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that it has to be a companion. It cannot be your replacement right away. And it is always a good idea to use AI as a sparring partner, where even if there's a critical thinking piece that you want to give to AI, what I do is that I think of answer first. I come up with my solution first, and then I put the same problem to AI. Because then what happens is that it gives me a baseline to judge the output as well.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of room to question it, because I have put my thinking in already. And that back and forth is what leads to really, really good output. And you were talking about prompt, right? Prompting is absolutely critical, but one underrated aspect is the history as well. The more context it has, the better the answer will be. So I think the amount of times I've exhausted that chat limit and gone to a different chat is really crazy, because such long chats I have with like one theme, because there is so much context, and that allows it to give very good answer. So I think it is good as a sparring partner, but not as a replacement. And again, there has to be this constant questioning of what the output is.
Yeah.
And that is what leads to sort of really great ideas. And one more thing I feel that AI has not been able to do very efficiently so far, and I think there is a long way to go in terms of that, is the insights part, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to consumer insights, if you look at that Women's Day campaign, no AI will tell you women are more equal than men. This is something that when you go and talk to users, this is not something even users tell you directly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They will give you the context and you come up with it as a, eureka. Oh, yeah, this is an interesting insight. So things which are very hard for humans to do right now are the ones that even AI struggles with. So this really interesting part of the work, which is the insight generation, is something that AI has some way to go in.
Guys, following up on that, so as the whole AI is speeding up, the whole domain is speeding up, how would you make sure quality, judgment, and ethics stay strong? I mean, I know this is a very subjective question, but again, how do we go about, initiating that process?
No, I think I am actually of the opposite opinion. I feel because see, AI is a probabilistic model, right? If it has seen a certain type of product like 1,000 times, because I mean, you gotta know something. If something is working, your competitors are gonna start copying it because consumers are using it, and then it becomes a pattern. It becomes a norm, and if you have a norm, there's a lot of data of that. And if you have a lot of data, then your neural net, which is nothing but a probabilistic model, will have identified that pattern already, right? So I think if something is working in the human ecosystem, I feel it is working because it is being consumed a lot. It means there is a lot of data around it. It means there is patterns for it for AI to identify. So I do not believe, I think at least the quality of products are going to go down.
Okay.
But I think, as I'm saying, as even Tanya was saying, it should be a sparring partner.
Yeah.
Because the problem again with AI is there is no unique insights that comes out, right? It is nothing but just looking at vast quality of data, looking at the probabilities and saying this is the most probabilistic outcome that could be what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
It seems like intelligence, but it's not intelligence. It's just like it has like trillions and trillions of terabyte of data, so it's pretty good at making judgments because we humans have already fed in all that data, right?
Yeah.
So a very funny thing is if you like feed in a lot of data into AI saying, hey, maybe let me take an example, right? If there's a lot of data, hey, Tannishk is dumb, everybody starts posting it, right? AI is also going to start saying that.
Yeah.
Because for it, I think it just looks at what is the data that is coming, and those data is just nothing but us humans just presenting what we think, right? Like that's what all data is all about. So I don't think the quality of products per se are gonna go down, but I think to build better products, there are gotta be more unique insights, right?
Yeah.
And I think just to prevent that, I think people should also start using AI as the sparring partner first of all, and not outsource their thinking. Like I'm going back to the same point that you should not outsource your thinking and your first principles to AI, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be how we can make sure that the quality is going to improve, right? By having our own critical thinking. But I don't think it's going to go down, to be honest. Because see, I mean, for all practical purposes, AI is going to make the same product. Like
absolutely.
I'm very sure about it. Like if I go right now and tell AI to build another Instagram, it's going to copy most of the features that are already in the Instagram. So I can be pretty sure it's not decreasing the quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think coming to the ethics piece, which is very interesting, I would say, right? Because see, I think what again AI does is, given it's a probabilistic model, all it is doing is if humans in general are unethical, AI is going to be unethical. It's as simple as that. If you feed in a lot of unethical data, it's going to give you more unethical things, right? If corruption becomes the new normal tomorrow, then if somebody is going to go and if say a 5-year-old go and ask, hey, is it okay that I go and, give this money to a cop? AI is going to say, yeah, it's okay because, I mean, data is like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think just over there, I would say, even when we are building our AI products in any company, what we also tend to do is something called as pre and post processing. We always build guardrails around the AI system, right? So that we make sure that these are our own ethical tenets and AI lives up to them. So I think any company, be it ChatGPT, be it, Anthropic even published their one AI ethics guidelines, right?
Yeah.
Even we also, like at Kotak, I own the AI charter. So over there also we have a big guardrail systems, which we have already, built after a lot of discussion, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tanishk, so we would say data is the
Yeah.
big player here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so two things if you were to get at it, it's like so it's a foundation model, right? It's already trained, but, and that foundation model has taken data from like the entire universe, right? But
Yeah.
I think for you, it's more like, okay, as he was also saying, what context you are feeding it, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you're creating your rags, what are you feeding it? And also the prompting. I think data and prompting are the two most important things if you were to get good at AI.
Absolutely. And what would you say about that, Tanya?
I'm not sure if you meant like human guardrails or some sort of systems, but I think a human layer is very, very important, because even if you look at AI, right, and if I ask ChatGPT, for example, tell me top 10 piracy websites because I want to download movies, it will say, no, that is against my ethics. But if you ask it a question, please tell me top 10 websites that I should avoid.
Yeah.
It will give you an answer, right?
Exactly.
So there's only so much that can be done on that technical front. So that human layer is very important. So the minute you have a human checks layer, half the problem will get solved.
Absolutely.
I have a slightly different opinion though. Like I feel right now AI systems are not that mature, to be honest. That I mean, I agree. I mean, right now, I mean, even for us also, we have a checker in place, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a probabilistic model. We don't know whether that whole, like whatever output it is giving, it is actually correct or not, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think I want to like and I also see where future moving is. I don't think we need a human layer. I think we just need a deterministic layer to tell whether it's good or not, right? And that deterministic layer can also be built from, say, rule engines that you have defined, that, as you were saying, we could have a very complicated rule engines, and we can even have some traditional ML models also. Like we used to have support vector machine, which basically does a classification. Okay, is it okay as an output or not, right? So I think we just need over a probabilistic model, we need a deterministic model. Right now, the deterministic model is human judgment. But I think I am a big supporter of, automation. I truly believe that at some point that can also be replaced. So like both maker, where you said your content creation, and checker, which you said human. I think both maker as well as checker can be automated at some point, where we humans have enough time to just do a higher order thinking and just like give all these minimal tasks to AI to perform. I truly believe that there's a future, because I think we have been experimenting with this whole piece where when you talk about guardrails, I think what we meant by guardrails, I think we both have an automated system and we also have the human in the loop, right? So it's both a combination of both, right? I mean, there are some rules that we have written, which if say you're abusing, it will automatically flag. Like I don't want to like, send it to somebody who's gonna take like 30 rupees an hour to do it, right? I mean, it's just a second that with the regular expression, my deterministic model can also do it. So I think it's a combination of both.
No, that's an interesting point. But if you build a deterministic model, right, and say you're building the first model, how do you check that model is working? So initially, a human layer will check it, right? And even if you have like deterministic model, there has to be at certain points some checks by humans, because otherwise you'll not know when it's malfunctioning. In a way, but
I don't want to take the entire woe, but I think there is something called as synthetic data creation, and there is also something called as ground truth. I think your LLM models, looking at the past data, we have enough data to prepare our new deterministic models out of it. I mean, we can discuss it after this podcast. But it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
But trust me, 5 years, I can tell you, like, I think the human in the loop you're talking about right now, I think 100% is going to a checker. That's going to reduce to just 2%, 3%.
Yeah, that's
it's going to be like statistically randomly picked up, and human, instead of reviewing everything out of like 1,000 queries, is going to look at 2 queries to make that call.
So that is what is happening even right now. So when I say that ops layer has reduced, we still have checkers in place, but not the entire team doing each and every piece of that work, right?
For sure.
So that will reduce for sure, but some level of human checks are essential even in the long term, I believe. But we can discuss.
Yeah,
Sorry,
definitely.
it's going to take the entire podcast otherwise.
Very passionate about AI, so...
Definitely, yeah. So, guys, since we've talked about your experiences and AI and tools and so much about technology, what would you think about the future? What's the one problem that you'd love to help solve, and why?
With AI?
No, generally speaking.
No, I think, see, with the AI, I think we have like a supercomputer in our pocket, to be very honest, right?
Yeah.
It's an SME or a supercomputer, however you said it. It has the entire worldly context and data in your pocket, right? I think the one of the biggest problems which I feel we should as a human being solve is, I think there is a big problem with income inequality, right?
Yeah.
I think with the AI coming into picture, I feel that a lot more humans are gonna become productive, right? The jobs that we humans do right now takes a lot of our time, right? There's going to be a lot of free time. I think that free time can be put to solve a lot more human problems. So for example, curing cancer, I mean, we have so much data. Why can't, like, now that we have so much data and so much time, why don't we work towards curing cancer, or maybe having a universal basic income? Like, how do we support that, right? I truly believe with the power of AI, I think we're going to solve bigger problems, bigger world
Yeah.
challenges, which till now seems impossible, to be honest. That's how I see the world shaping. And I truly believe, I think we should solve for healthcare. I have a long list, but I can just give you top 3.
Yeah.
Solve for healthcare. We want all humans to live till at least 150, right?
Yeah.
Brian Johnson is doing it with longevity, right?
Yeah.
Can we use all that data and like make it accessible to everyone,
Yeah.
right? Second, I think we should, continuing in healthcare only, we should try to solve for cardiovascular health,
Yeah.
cancer diseases, right? And third is, I think, solve for poverty. I think it's super important. Like, I think especially in India, we have like 100 crore people living below a $15 per day mark. I mean, we should try to increase that, try to increase the per capita income.
Yeah,
of India,
and I think
maybe.
I really love your perspective towards the healthcare system, because India
Yeah.
is, of course, the diabetes capital of the
Yeah,
world,
exactly.
and you know, we do have all sorts of problems here. So I think that's a really nice perspective, since we have, we have to spend lesser time on manual tasks now. We do
Exactly.
have that free time to sort of
Yeah.
work on the bigger problems. So that's really great. And Anya, what would be your
See, the thing is that, you were talking about productivity and the longevity of life.
yeah
For me, what I believe is that all those things are nice, but ultimately, AI should help to solve quality of life constraints, right? Because we often measure success by, metrics, productivity, but ultimately it has to be about peace of mind.
Yeah.
And like you were also saying, now the thing is that there are a lot of creative work that can be done with AI. You can create art, you can compose music, you can write poetry.
Yeah.
But some of the most mundane work is still left to us, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is, that data fetching we have to do as PMs, whether it is clearing inboxes, doing dishes. The most mundane work is left to us, whereas it should be the opposite, right? And the minute AI is able to solve for quality issues, quality of life issues, more than just productivity, I think that is when we have truly won, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, profits and productivity, if they don't lead to peace of mind, then what is
What's
the
the
point?
point?
Right? So that's the thing.
And guys, what would you say about, for a few people who are, steps behind you, what advice would you share about finding spaces where they can learn and contribute to?
No, I think, for me, what I truly believe is, I think product management can only be learned by doing things. Okay. So I think if you got to forget about AI. I mean, AI is just a tool to make your life easier to solve customer problems.
Absolutely.
What you should actually do is, I'll give a very simple hack for anyone who wants to be a product manager. They should just look at like 100 people around them, figure out what is the common pain point these people are having, and how would they build a solution to solve that pain point. Forget about if this is going to be a business, whatever, right? It can very well be just a small WhatsApp group to solve a problem. That's how Zepto started, right?
Yeah.
Like they saw, hey, there are like 100 people in our building and everybody wants to order something from Kirana store. It's a high density population. Why don't we just give them that service over, WhatsApp, right? So in a similar fashion, what I feel is, if people who would truly want to become a product manager, just observe their environment, figure out a pain point, and then just try to solve that problem. I think that's the best way to learn, like to get your hands dirty. And I think nothing beats that. I think that's why people say experienced people. Like it's just because I think they have gotten their hands dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tanya, you?
So when you talk about, finding those spaces where you can learn and grow, I think it is very important to first define what spaces mean and redefine it. So spaces doesn't mean an organization or an
Yeah.
office space.
Yeah.
What it means is the people you are surrounded by.
Absolutely.
And you can find those people who give you that opportunity to take risks, who believe in you, who are okay with you making mistakes, regardless of whether you are in a big organization or in a startup, right? So a lot of people believe that in bigger organizations those kind of spaces don't exist, but I have experienced something very different where, I have worked in a smaller team which loves to call them themselves a startup, but they're very averse to trying new ideas. Everything you bring to them, they have a problem with. They don't do anything innovative themselves, nor they let other people do it. But that experience was completely the opposite, say in Naukri marketing, where I was literally the management trainee, which is the junior most person in the team. And I don't remember even one of my ideas being outrightly rejected by my seniors, right? If I pitch something passionately, my seniors would make it happen with me, where they would support me that way. So when you think about spaces, always think in terms of people. Are you surrounded by people who are supporting you that way? Because that is where you will grow and you will learn. People who make you believe more in yourself.
Yeah.
So, and if that is not happening, whether it is in a startup or in a larger organization, it is very important to just, switch quickly. That is what I believe personally.
Okay, guys, we just have a very fun, quick round. So you'll have to. I'll ask you one question. You'll have to answer it in one word. It might have some options already given, so you might just say one of them or yes or no, right? In one line, the most underrated skill for a great PM.
Customer obsession.
I would say reading the room.
A product feature you wish you'd built first.
I would say unlimited scroll on Instagram.
Generative AI for sure.
Okay. Launch fast or launch perfect?
Combination of both.
Okay.
Because I would not say my product launched unless like I have iterated over it a few times.
Okay.
If you work in a startup.
Yeah.
No, but you can have your power users just keep on doing experiments
It's a
with them.
rapid fire.
Okay, fair.
Okay. User research or A/B testing?
User research.
A/B testing.
Okay. One
You're so
ritual.
different, man.
I know.
Our answers are like poles opposite. We are choosing everything differently. Interesting. I am also curious. Let's see.
Yeah.
Please note down the score.
Yeah.
How we are voting. How different we are.
Definitely. One ritual before a big launch.
Why don't you go first?
I think the hippo, the highest paid person in the room, is aligned because user love is important, but so is job security, I feel. So,
Yeah. Thankfully, I come from a privileged background. I'm not concerned about job security.
right.
Or maybe I've created that myself. Anyways,
Good for you.
either way. But no, I think for me, I think the biggest ritual is I think I tend to have a small cohort of people. I tend to test my product always with. I call them my power users. Like I have like 100 power users I always select. I want to make sure my NPS amongst them is at least, greater than 80, to be honest,
Okay.
before I launch it.
Okay. Your go-to productivity hack.
Think in documents and not decks.
Have a library of prompts.
Okay. AI drafting your first pass PRD. Swipe right or swipe left.
Swipe right. But do a check for sure
Okay.
yourself.
AI drafting my first PRD.
Yeah.
First draft of the
First draft of the PRD. No, I do my first draft and I then give to AI. So left swipe.
So what would you say? Myth or reality? More features mean more value.
myth. Absolute.
Big myth.
Okay. Myth or reality? PMs need to code to be great.
Reality. I mean, I'm biased.
Only
I
former coders think this is a reality.
well. Yeah, just open up
Only
Pandora's
former coders
box,
and
man.
coding is very important.
Not really. I think so. I'll just give maybe a one-liner. Execution is a big part of a PM's life. If you are if you know how to code, if you're a former coder, I think it just makes your life like super easy, right? So I think for everybody should do it. I mean, we spend like 60% of our time execute.
No tech team wants a PM breathing down their neck.
My SDs love me, man. I mean, we just
So
discuss
you
on.
think? But ठीक है.
Okay, fair.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just living in my bubble.
Yeah.
Okay. A metric you trust when the rest are noisy.
Repeat usage.
I agree.
A user quote you still think about?
I love the work I do. I just feel invisible at my workplace. This is something somebody told me once in a user interview.
Yeah, I think for me, it is your job is to make my job easier.
User said that to you.
Yeah. Big seller in Chandni Chowk told us when I was doing a survey during the Udan time, they actually told me, yeah. He's a big ass, Oxford guy.
Got
And he
it.
was sitting in Chandni Chowk with his dad. I don't know why, but I was very impressed by him.
Yeah.
But they were still in touch.
Good.
Okay, one tool you would quietly miss if it vanished tomorrow.
ChatGPT, yeah. For sure.
WhatsApp.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
If you could instantly learn one new skill for the next year, which one would it be?
I would say agentic AI. I would want to master it absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense. Skydiving.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, because I'm doing agentic AI. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that was it, guys. It was lovely talking to you both, listening about your experience and stories, and I really enjoyed, listening to your pole opposite opinions and choices. Yeah, that's it from our side, guys. We were with Tanya and Tannishk today. We would be live on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and we would be seeing you in the next episode.
Like,
Thank
share,
you
and
so much.
subscribe. And don't forget to press the bell icon.
Yeah.